Hello, namaste, welcome to your morning yoga class. If you're new here, my name is MARIAAA, welcome. And if you're not new here, welcome back. Today I have a short morning yoga flow for you. We're going to be working through a lot of heart openers and shoulder openers to help us get energized, and a few hip openers as well, just to get us out of that position that we were sleeping in for so long. We're only going to need a block today. If you have that, if you don't, a water bottle, a book, anything that can help raise the ground up just a little bit. We're going to be working on one balancing pose, which this might come in handy. We're going to begin today though at the top of the mat, and we're going to just do a sun salutation to get us grounded and to get our energy kind of in the mood of doing yoga. So we're going to begin in mountain pose. Inhale, lift the arms up above overhead, and then exhale to bring them back down by your sides. You can do that a few more times. On the next inhale, flip your palms up and bring them up from the sides of your torso all the way up, and maybe bring them to touch. And then on the way down, pretend that you're trying to move the air down slowly, or you're trying to push something down slowly. Broaden the collarbone, pull the shoulders away from the ears as you exhale all the way down. Inhale, fill up the low belly, tuck the chin slightly, and then exhale, bring the arms back down, palms face down, reach the crown of the head up to the sky. And then leave your arms down by your sides. Take a moment here to either close the eyes or keep the eyes open, but just find a moment to tune in. Focus on your breath and notice where your breath is moving. Notice how you're breathing. Throughout this flow, we're going to try to focus the breath. We're going to try to focus our attention on the breath and try to breathe in as deeply and fully as possible, not just into the chest, so into the torso, expanding all four sides of the torso, front, back, left, right. Your lungs go a lot lower than you might actually think, so inhaling throughout your entire torso, and then when you exhale, you should feel your stomach or everything kind of inhale and pull back in. One more big inhale and exhale. And we'll start with sun salutation. So inhale, lift your arms up above overhead, and then exhale, slight bend in the knees. Keep your gaze down and start to hinge at the hips, folding over your legs. Your feet can be hip width apart here or feet together. Come down halfway, stop here. Pull the shoulders away from the ears and tuck the chin just a little to get long through the back of the spine. And then exhale to keep folding over your legs, bend your knees, and maybe your back starts to round. Let your head hang loose, crown of the head reaches towards the earth. And then grab opposite elbows here, optional, for a ragdoll. And then maybe just moving your elbows a little bit from side to side, but keeping that movement small. Remember to keep grounded here through your feet, through the outer edges of the feet, and then through the balls of the feet as well, and then the heels. And then once you're there, once you have your base, pull up through the arches of the feet. On your next inhale, bring your hands to your shins or to your thighs, halfway lift your torso, and then exhale to fold back over your legs. Place your hands on the mat in front of your feet, and then step the left foot back towards the back of the mat, coming into a runner's lunge. Drop the back left foot, back left knee, and then on the inhale, bring your hands to your hips and lift your torso up off of your thigh. Pull that right hip back in space. Inhale, and exhale to maybe sink your hips a little closer to the mat. Inhale to maybe come out of it again. And from here, your hands can stay on your hips. They can go up above overhead, or they can go behind you to grab your foot and bring it up towards your sitting bone. So your left heel is coming up towards your left sitting bone. Finding a gentle stretch through the left quad here, as well as the right hip. So we're opening a lot right now. And again, if this feels more comfortable, that's totally okay. Release your left foot to the ground. Inhale, arms up to the sky. And then exhale to take your arms to cactus arms, elbows by your shoulders, in line with your shoulders, and fingertips reach up towards the sky. Shoulder blades come to touch back behind you. Lift your heart space, lift your chin maybe, and then exhale to release your hands back down to the ground. Frame your right foot, and then send your right foot back to meet your left. From here, stay in plank pose. Inhale. Balls of the feet stacked underneath the heels of the feet, shoulders underneath or shoulders over top of the wrists. Inhale, And then exhale to lift the hips up high for downward facing dog. So if this is your first downward facing dog of the day, maybe pedal out the feet, start to settle in and wake up through the backs of the legs. Keep a bend in your knees here, and your heels don't have to touch the floor, but send them energetically towards the mat. So pulling away from your sitting bones. And then lift your sitting bones, lift your hips a little more towards the sky. One more inhale here, and make your way up to the top of your mat, either tiptoe or hop or step, whatever you are feeling today, whatever feels safe in your body. On the inhale, we'll lift halfway up, and then exhale to hinge at the hips, bend the knees, forward fold again. Plant your hands in front of both of your feet, and then step your right foot back to the back of the mat, and then drop your right back knee. From here, we're going to bring our hands to our hips or hands up overhead as we inhale to lift up off of our thighs. Inhale, reach the crown of the head up, stay tall. Pull that left hip back maybe, and then exhale to sink in a little bit more with your hips level. Option to stay here, or option to, again, lift your arms up above overhead. Keep your arms here, or reach back as you lift that right heel towards your right sitting bone. But again, you can keep an active leg here and you don't have to hold on to it. So as long as you're flexing your toes back and reaching that heel up. And then maybe sink in just to get a little bit more of a stretch. Release that right foot to the back of the mat. Inhale, reach the arms up above overhead, fingertips reach the sky. And then exhale to cactus your arms, elbows go wide in line with your shoulders, fingertips reach up. Squeeze the shoulder blades behind your back. Inhale here. And exhale to release. Bring your hands to frame your right foot, and then your left foot, and then step your left foot back to meet your right. Inhale, plank pose. Exhale for downward facing dog, lift the hips. Slight bend in your knees. Hips reaching up towards the sky. Shoulders or your biceps are by your ears, so your head is in between your arms there. And then push down through all 10 knuckles, especially that pointer finger, knuckle, and thumb. One more inhale here, bend your knees, and on the exhale, make your way up any way you want. So to meet your hands at the front of your mat, coming into a forward fold again. From here, we're going to shift forward, so shifting your shoulders over top of your arms, dropping your hips back down to plank pose. And then inhale to lift your hips back up, bend your knees. Exhale to drop your hips, plank pose. Inhale to lift back up. Last one, we're going to drop to a plank pose, and then option to drop onto your knees and come all the way down, or take a vinyasa, whatever vinyasa you want, shift forward onto your toes, and then either come all the way down or halfway for chaturanga. If you're all the way down, inhale to only lift your chest, keeping your hands by your ribs, elbows reach back behind you, maybe drawing towards one another. Push your hips into the ground, into the mat, and then exhale to bring your forehead back down to the mat. Widen your fingertips and bring them out a little wider than your mat width, and bring your fingers to spider fingers, so coming up onto the fingertips. On the next inhale, you're going to lift your chest, but keep your elbows pointing up and keep your chin tucked just a little, reaching your shoulder blades back together behind you. Inhale to maybe lift your chest a little bit higher, your heart space, and then exhale to come back down to the ground. Push yourself back up to tabletop position, and then up to downward facing dog. Inhale to lift the right leg up high, and then exhale to bring your knee to your nose, drop down into that plank, drop your hips, shoulders over your wrist, and then drop that right foot wherever it falls. Heel toe it up a little bit so that it's underneath your right knee. And then on the inhale, we're going to stand up to high lunge. So from here, check on your hips, pull that right hip back. You're on the ball of your left foot, so left heel is up, and then maybe sink in a little bit more. Lift that left thigh up towards the sky. Inhale, arms up to the sky. Exhale, cactus arms, shoulder blades touch, and then release. From here, open up and pivot on that back foot so your toes are facing the long side of the mat. Coming into a warrior two, bend into that right knee so your right foot is facing towards the front, but your hips are now facing towards the outer edge, so towards the side. Bend your knee and bring your arms out to a T, gaze past your right fingertips. Inhale to straighten out, coming into a triangle pose, and then exhale to sink back down into warrior two. Pivot on that back foot, returning to high lunge. Bring your hands back down to frame your right foot, and then send that right foot back to meet your left. Settle in here, bend the knees, pedal out the feet, and once you find stability, lift that left leg up. Inhale. Exhale to bend the knee, drop into a plank, and then drop that left foot in between your hands. Heel toe it to bring that left ankle underneath the left knee. And on the inhale, we're going to lift the torso up off of our left thigh. Inhale, reach the arms up overhead. Pull that left hip back, maybe sink in a little bit more. And then exhale, cactus arms, shoulder blades reach back behind you. And release, one more inhale. And, whoops, one more inhale. And exhale to pivot, right toes face the right long side of the mat. Left toes face the front and hips face towards the long side of the mat as well. Inhale, bend into that left knee, gaze past the left fingertips. And then exhale to triangle pose. Inhale to warrior two once more. And then pivot towards the front of the mat. Exhale, bring your hands back down to the ground and step your left foot back to downward facing dog. Inhale to look up, and then exhale to slowly walk, tiptoe, step, or hop your feet to meet the backs of your hands. Bring your toes a little closer together and bring your heels slightly apart so all 10 toes are facing directly towards the front of the mat. Bend into your knees slightly and start to sit into an imaginary chair. We're coming into a chair pose. On the inhale, lift your torso up off of your thighs. Sit your sitting bones back just a little bit more. Look down and make sure that you can see your toes. It's okay if they go over. It's just this pose is a little more stable and you have a little bit more stability when you're keeping your knees over top of your ankles. One more inhale here. Pull your abs a little bit more away from your thighs. And then exhale to fold back over your hips, hinging at the hips, folding over the legs. Plant the hands, step one foot back and then drop the knee. Step the other foot back and then drop the knee. So we're coming into a kneeling position. Bring your knees up a little bit and then we're coming up to sit on our heels. Tuck the toes under so that your soles of the feet are facing towards the back of the mat. Getting a nice gentle stretch through the soles of the feet here. So opening up and maybe waking those up. We're going to be moving into a camel pose here. So if you have a tight low back, if you have pain in the low back, be very gentle with this. You know your body best, so just listen to your body and do what makes you feel safe. When you're ready, lift your sitting bones up and you can keep the toes tucked under here. Start to engage your glutes just a little to try to push your hips forward. If this is easier for you, you can come up against a wall and just put your thighs up against a wall here so you can kind of keep that straight line or that stability. Bring the hands to your backside, so to your glutes, and almost as if you're trying to put your hands into your back pockets, fingertips face down, start to draw your elbows back towards one another as your chest and heart space starts to lift up. From here, start to bend a little bit backwards, but let that back bend, let that heart opener naturally just take you there. So start to push into your hips, push your hips forward. Draw your elbows back, and then naturally you'll start to lean back. From here, if you have your block or anything nearby, you can let go and just grab on to one of those or both of those. Another option here is to reach towards your heels if that feels safe for you. Remember to open up through the heart space is the most important part. We're stretching the upper thoracic. And then once you're ready, just stand back up, bring your hands back onto the top of your glutes, and then sit back down onto your heels for a moment. Option to close the eyes here or keep them open. Back bends are very energizing in the morning. I love to do them. They just give me a lot of energy and they help open up the heart space. They help open up for your day, let's say. Back bends are very energizing for the morning, so I love to do them. We're going to do it one more time if you choose. If not, you can remain there, just closing your eyes, paying attention to your breath. While we're here, I still want us to pay attention to your breath, so bring your hands to your back imaginary pockets, start to draw the elbows back, push the hips forward by engaging and squeezing the glutes just a little bit. Inhale, and then exhale to maybe bend a little deeper. Pull your belly button up into your spine to help protect your low back. So up and in as you stretch through your tummy, through your belly. One more inhale here. On the exhale, make your way back to a standing, kneeling position and then sit onto your heels. From here, we're going to come into a tabletop, so rock forward onto your arms. Hands and knees, hands directly underneath your shoulders, knees directly underneath your hips. Drop your elbows to replace where your hands or your wrists were. Fingertips face towards the front of the mat, so make sure your elbows aren't coming out here. Trying to rotate your arms outward, so biceps are trying to rotate towards the outside of the room, triceps are rotating towards the back, so we're finding that kind of inner rotation or outer rotation there. And then start to walk your feet, your knees back towards the back of the mat slowly until you find a gentle stretch through the upper back, through the upper shoulders. Rest your forehead on the ground if that feels safe. And then you can untuck the toes here, coming onto the tops of the feet, whatever helps you feel more stable here. And then just breathe. Focus on your breathing through this challenging pose. On the inhale, fill up your whole lower torso, your entire torso, expanding all four sides. On the exhale, maybe you sink your heart space a little more towards the ground. And as you do that, maybe you notice your tailbone maybe gets a little higher, but remember to keep your low back stable here. So try not to arch too much in the low back. One more inhale here, and then exhale to roll forward. Bring your head up in between your arms, and then bring your hips to sit or to lay onto the mat. So pressing up against the mat, coming into a Sphinx pose. From here, you can walk your elbows out just a little bit if you have tight shoulders, or you can walk them back to whatever feels good. Going to inhale and lift up through the chest, through the heart space. Press down into the tops of your feet, press down into the quads and into your hips. So maybe your knees lift up a little bit. Pull your belly button up and in. We're protecting the low back here. One more inhale. And exhale to bring your right knee up towards your right elbow. And then thread that left arm underneath your right. We're coming into a half frog pose here. Bring your right arm and place it on top of your left so that your palms are touching and so that you can square and maybe stack your shoulders. From here, open your right arm up to the sky and then option to either take it over your head or over to the other side of the room. And if you take it over to the other side of the room, let your leg or knee come off the ground and let your shoulder touch. So both shoulders are touching the mat here. Finding a gentle supine twist. Inhale and exhale to maybe relax a little more in this pose. Maybe gaze past your right fingertips. And then when you're ready, bring that right arm back on top of the left. Square or stack your shoulders and then push up with that right arm. So take that right arm back towards your shoulders or towards the center line and then push yourself back up. So you're coming back into the Sphinx pose. Bring your right knee back down to meet your left. And then this time bring your left knee up towards your right elbow or your left elbow. Your left knee up towards your left elbow. From here, thread the right arm underneath, coming onto the right shoulder, and then stack your left shoulder on top of your right. Option to bring the left hand up overhead, or to bring it over to the left side of the mat. And again, if that does happen, let your shoulder touch and rest on the mat, and let your left knee maybe come off the mat just a little bit. And then from here, instead of turning back over, we're actually going to bring the left hip to touch the mat, and then scoot ourselves back on to the center or back onto our mat or wherever you are. Coming into Savasana, final resting pose. Let your legs go to either side of the mat and let the feet fall wide. Another option is to keep the soles of your feet on the mat, feet wide, and let the knees fall in. It helps when you have a tight low back. And stay here for as long as you'd like. Feel free to get your morning started, but I highly encourage you to just sit in Savasana for a couple more minutes to let all of the energy kind of settle, to let your mind reap the benefits and your body reap the benefits of what just happened, to let everything soak in before you get up and move on to the very next thing. Taking a little bit of quiet time to yourself. So feel free to pause the video, to end the video, but this is where I will leave you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that the rest of your day is filled with light and love. The light in me honors the light in you. Thank you so much, friends. I'll see you next time.